Yo, what's up guys? Blake here bringing you an updated max fire gear and deck setup video. I'm really excited for this one because I've been trying out different combos ever since the turn-based came out, and the setup I'm using right now is really good. We're almost at 1800 rank. I can't believe it. We've been doing really good. I have like a positive win rate against most schools, pretty much every school actually, except for the behemoths, man. The behemoth, it's like I have like a 30% win-loss ratio. I lose like every game except if I play like absolutely perfectly and somehow manage to win. It's pretty insane. Sometimes I've been immune sniped too, but I'm still pretty happy with this record. It's solid. So let me just get into the video showing you guys my stats. So this is the setup I'm using right now, and this is, in my opinion, the best setup if you're not using cheese. And when I refer to cheese, I'm talking about make cast on pets like Shatter, Steel Ward, Fuel, stuff like that. And also if you're using Ward, so if you have like 80 plus resist, I think this is the best setup for fire. So you got 8.1k health, which is a ton of health, honestly. 161 damage, so it's not even like, you know, you have some weak damage. Like your damage output is still really high. 45 universal, which is okay, but the health is way more important. 30 accuracy, which is really low, but you can't base fizz. That's the best part. And these stats are just insane. So then you keep going here, you know, 33% crit. The crit's a bit low, but it doesn't matter. You got 12% block, and look at this, 41 pierce. That's the best part about this setup. You have 8.1k health, which is huge, and then you still have 161 damage and 41 pierce, so pretty crazy. And then you still have solid pips, 98, and then 7 shad with 70 pip conserve. So let me get into the gear that I use, and this is my favorite setup, like I said. So you got the Dragoon's hat, you know what I'm saying? You need this hat. I use with every setup. I think it's so much better than the Croc and Master, especially now. The only time I would use Master or Croc is if you're specifically running a ward set, but it's kind of weird for fire because, you know, you can't really run like the amulet. Having this hat allows you to get the set bonus, and it's just such a good hat, you know what I mean? It gives you accuracy, really good pips, a lot of health, crit, shad, like it gives you everything you want in an offensive piece of gear, so I really like it. So I got the Dragoon's hat, you know what I mean? You got the turquoise robe. This robe is, it's beautiful, okay? This robe is, it's overpowered, honestly, because it allows you to still get your damage in. You get more pierce and stuff, really good health. It's a really good solid, you know, middle ground kind of robe. So you still have offensive stats, but you don't sacrifice health or, you know, stuff like that. The only bad part is you don't get shads, but you don't really need shads, to be honest. And then, you know, you got the Dragoon's boots. These boots are amazing. Use it with every setup. Captain Wand from Sinbad pack, I also use this on every setup. You know, you got that Thame, and this is why using the Thame now is so good, is because look at this. For you guys that don't know, this works in PvP. The Dragoon's fire set bonus, so if you use one piece of gear, you get one bonus. If you use 2 pieces of gear, you still only get 1 bonus. But if you use 3 pieces of gear, you get 3 bonuses, and that's where it really comes into play. Because with this setup, using the Dragoon's hat, the boots, and a Thame, it allows me to capitalize on this. I get the extra accuracy, which allows me to use the turquoise robe without socketing accuracy on your pet, which is huge. It's huge. It gives you like so much more damage because you get to keep the extra 6 damage from your pet, which you would have had to sacrifice for accuracy, and you get another 7 damage from having the triple bonus. So that's an extra 13 damage just because you're using this Dragoon set. So it's really good. The pip conserve like doesn't matter, but I mean it's nice, you know what I mean? It's nice, especially if you're using like the fire elf minion strat. This works out. But and the accuracy is just beautiful, so that's why I use that setup. Then of course, you know, you got the Shane amulet. This is what, you know, it's my go-to duelist ring. And then for my pet, I'm using a triple double infoul on a Scarionet. If I was really going for cheese, I would be using a double infoul shatter. That is the most cheese pet in the game right now because it can cast on your opponent's turn. They need to take shatter, make cast shatter, not the spell, make cast shatter out of the game immediately. It is so broken. It can cast on your opponent's turn. Like let's say my opponent has it and I shield, like on my turn it can cast shatter, so they know they have an open hit. It's so broken. It's actually so broken. So I might make a shatter pet just to show you guys how broken it is, but I don't want to, you know what I mean? I don't want to use the cheese, you know? So this setup is good. I like infoul just because it really helps against warded people, immune people, behemoths, you know what I mean? But otherwise, ideally, I'd rather use like just all solid talents, you know what I mean? I don't want to use any make cast, but you kind of have to in this meta, unfortunately. And then for the mount, I got the rock mount, which allows me to get my pips up to 98. If you don't have the rock mount, you'd have to have 95 pips, which is honestly pretty low. So I don't know how viable it would be. Rock mount definitely makes the set even better. And then for the deck, I'm using this one. It's the duelist deck. This one's nice because it gives you a little bit of everything, and it gives you deck space. You could use the paradox deck just to get, you know, that little extra health, the crit, you know what I mean? But it doesn't really do much for you. The reason why I don't use paradox deck is because you only have 4 copies of universal stuff. And as a fire, you want to ideally stun block block turn 1 like almost every single game. Like that's your best move, and it allows you to actually basically have an extra round before you proceed, you know, whether it be trap stacking, going for a shad, or you know, whatever it is, shielding. So that's why I prefer to have this deck. The Omen deck or the Rat deck is also very good just because it gives the copies and it also gives health, but this is what I have and it doesn't make a big difference anyway. So yeah, that's the setup. This is definitely what I think is the best setup in the game right now for fire, if you're not using like warded cheese and getting like 80 plus resist. So this is my favorite universal set, but I'll go through a few more sets that I also came up with that are pretty solid. So here's another setup that you can use, and this one is one that's, I guess it's not pay to win because there's no like turquoise robe or anything like that. So this one is 8.3k health, and the only difference with this setup is I switched the dragoons, I switched the turquoise robe for the dragoon. So as you can see here, the turquoise robe is definitely better in my opinion for a lot of reasons. First of all, you got to keep the damage. The 15 extra damage is huge, but that's like the main part of it, is that you got to keep the damage, and 15 makes a big difference. 15 damage definitely makes a big difference. But dragoons allows you, it does have some other stats which are pretty good. You get way more health, you get like 200 more health, which is really nice. You get some more block, which brings up your block significantly. Block before it's like 12% and brings it up to 25. So 25 is definitely not a negligible amount of block, you know what I mean? So it's not a bad setup for sure. Even though I think turquoise is definitely better, it's not bad, you know what I'm saying? You still get the same accuracy from the turquoise robe. You get one less pierce, but that's fine, it doesn't really matter. But the other really good thing about the dragoon's robe is you get an extra pip, which is always good, but 4 shad percent. So you go from 98 and 7 to 99 and 11. So this setup is actually not bad at all. And with this, I'd probably use a health deck, you know what I mean? Like I might even just use the paradox deck, this one, just to get my health up even more. Because I mean, look at this, almost 8.5k health with still 146 damage. You know, your resist goes down slightly, but that's fine, you know what I mean? Like look at this, you have 25 block, and look at those shads. I mean, 11 shad and 99. Like I said, I still think turquoise is better, but this setup is pretty solid, so I definitely wouldn't sleep on it. Then we go to the next setup, which is if you want to do that, you know, the OG glass cannon setup. These are the two setups that you can do with glass cannon. So this is the main one that I found. The only problem with this setup is that what's it called? The health is a bit low. The health is a bit low. 7.4k health in this meta is a bit low. I see Storms rocking like 7.8k right now. And health is really such like an underrated stat. I mean, everybody knows how important health is, but I think people kind of underestimate really how important health is, especially with Strike and stuff like that. Unless you're really running Ward, like health is more important than resist in my opinion overall. But yeah, so the health is a little bit low, but I mean, look at this. You get more damage than with the other set. 167 with 44 accuracy, so you can't fizz, which is nice. You get 52% crit, which is solid, and then you know, 37 pierce, 97 and 9 for shads. So what's nice about this setup is you do get slightly more shads. You get 2% more shads, but the main part that's really good about it is that your crit goes back up. So you get about 20% more crit. So that's why I prefer turquoise robe, is because I feel like, you know, you lose like 6 damage and 20 crit, but other than that, I mean, you gain everything. You gain way more health, you gain way more resist. Yeah, you lose accuracy, but it doesn't really matter, you know what I mean? You gain more armor, you gain more pierce, which is huge. And then your pips go even higher actually, and you know, you lose a little bit of shads, but especially in turn-based, sometimes you play more defensive. You don't need shads as quickly. It feels like in the old school mode, it was like basically whoever gets shad first is gonna win the game. In turn-based, of course, whoever gets shad first still makes a difference, but I feel like it's not as important, even though it still makes a big difference. And shads are broken, needs to be nerfed. You know what I'm saying? But this setup is pretty good. You could switch it out for this robe, the radiant robe, which I personally like better. Just because, you know, it gives you more health, it gives you more resist, more crit, more damage. You know, I like this robe better, but the problem with that is your pips go down to 94. Like when I look at this, I'm like, damn, these stats are good, you know, 7.6k health, 169 damage, you know what I mean, 53 crit, this is beautiful. But the problem is your pips are so bad. 94 pips is really not good. So personally, I would probably use the master robe over that, and the reason why also is because you can do this if you use this setup for glass cannon, which is why I think this is the best setup for glass cannon. So like I said, yeah, so this is the radiant robe, but you can do this cheese, right? So let's say you switch back to master robe, which allows you with the triple boost, right? Because you have the dragoon hat, the boots, and the athame, it allows you to have more than enough accuracy. So you can unsocket accuracy on the athame. So you see it says that I have accuracy socketed, right? I don't need that extra 12 accuracy, you know what I mean? I could be fine with 32, and I could socket a shad jewel. I could socket a Shadju, which would put me up to 12% Shads. So for Glass Cannon, I think that's the best setup, is to use this, the Master Robe, you know, with all the other things that I said, but then socket on your Dragoon's Dagger and Shadow Pip Jewel, because then you don't need the extra accuracy. You could socket Pips as well. I would rather have the 100% Pips, you know, 107% Pips than to have 44 accuracy. So that's probably what I would do. If I was using Glass Cannon, I would probably socket Pips or the Shadow Pip Jewel, like I said. But those are the main setups you can do. I think Turquoise Robe is absolutely amazing, and it works with basically every school in this meta, especially because Dragoon Hat, Boots, and a Thame is like meta for almost every school right now. It's just so good because of the set bonus and everything. So that's what I would recommend. Like I said, this setup right here is my favorite. Just because it's everything, it's all around the board really good, you know what I mean? Like, sure, you give up a little bit of crit, but that's fine when you have 41 pierce and 161 damage. Like, it doesn't matter. And I find so many times, like, I barely tank because I have that health. So that's my favorite setup. Let's get into the deck now. So this is the deck setup that I'm using. It was actually a lot bigger a while ago. It was probably up to like here when I first started turn-based, because I just kept adding stuff. But I've been trying to make it as small as possible and just pack like the necessary things into my deck. So I'll just go through what I'm running right now and what I used to pack. So the strategy that I'm using right now, and what I've used to get to 1700 rank, is basically a trap stack fire strat. So it's essentially the same as how you play before, except instead of beetle spamming, you fuel spam, which is pretty similar, honestly. So to me, it works as well, if not even better, just because in turn-based, if you can make sure your deck doesn't fail, you're gonna win a lot of matches, because if you can capitalize on your opponent deck failing, that's a dub right there. It doesn't matter if they're like outvaluing you. If your opponent doesn't pull a shield when they need to pull a shield and you have a shad, like, that's GG, you know what I'm saying? So turn-based really promotes deck building, which I think is good overall, but it does definitely hinder new players and people who aren't experienced with making a good deck. So I'll just go through it. I got an Ice Dispel. Sometimes I take it out because Behemoths never strike, man. They never strike. They literally just, you know what I mean? They'll Weaver into a set shield, crit with their infoul up, like no buffs or nothing, or no, actually they Ice Bird it into your set shield and then they Weaver it into your set shield, and it's gonna do like 2 racks. So it doesn't even matter. Like, Ice Dispel is kind of pointless, but I pack it in just in case, you know, the Behemoths want to strike against me. I got 6 stun blocks. Like I said, this is why I wouldn't use Paradox deck. I would probably use Omen deck if I had it, but like, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna farm just to get it. The deck I'm using right now is fine, but you need to be able to, like, stun block first turn as a fire is huge. So unfortunately, my deck is a little bit too big to reliably pull it every single time first turn, but I do pull it first turn most of the time, and if not, I can usually go for a fuel. It's rare that I have to like pull for a tower shield or just pass first turn. So yeah, that's why I run 6 stun blocks, and that's the maximum you can do with this deck. I would probably, with a deck this big for fire, I would probably run 7 or 8 stun blocks with a deck this big, just to guarantee that I can pull it first turn. But yeah, that's what I'm using. Then I got a main deck Potent and I got a gear Potent. So I use one of each so that if I wanted to stack them, I could. So yeah, that's why I use one of each, and then I just pack in 2 fuels, and I also have the fuel for my pet. So I have 3 different fuels that I can technically do, and I find that's a good number. Before that, I was packing 3 with a second main deck Potent, but you know what I mean? I don't need that many fuels. This works. And like I said, I'm trying to make my deck as small as possible. I have 2 fatty fire 80 shields, and there's 2 reasons for that. One, it's because I do face a lot of fires, and the extra resist really does help, you know? Like, if they're in Shrike, even if you put an 80 shield, they'll be a little bit skeptical before they hit, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes they'll just hit right through a set shield, but if it's a fatty 80 shield, you know what I mean? Unless they have a Pierce Blade and Infoul and Shrike, they'll be skeptical before they hit, you know what I'm saying? And the second reason for this is it's so good to take off the spells. Since I'm still using Trap Stack, I don't need Blades, so you know what I mean? I just want to pack a 0 pip hit, 0 pip spell for fire to take off the spells, basically, to outvalue. So that's why I run that. Like I said, I run 2 different fuels with the pet one. I have one of these shields. Really, it's because I never fight any storms. Like, I literally never fight storms, and if I do fight storms, I'd rather just tower shield anyway. You know what I'm saying? Just because, like, they might insane you and stuff. So I just pack 1 set shield because, like I said, I can't remember the last time I fought a storm at my rank. And the reason why I just pack 1 is, like I said, it's a fire 0 pip spell. So if I need to keep it against like an ice, if they try to dispel me, it's good. 1 fire dispel. I might even take this out because literally all I do is Fire Giant. Like, Fire Giant is so good against fire, especially in turn-based, but I keep 1 just in case, you know, I can't pull it, or like they go for an early strike. It's just good to have. I have max bubbles in, which is 6, which I think is a good number anyway. And the reason why I keep so many bubbles is because, not recently, but especially the first few days, and actually like a couple days ago too, I've been facing so many lives and a lot of immune snipers and like Jades. And when you go against the Jades, you need to keep bubble control. And what usually happens is they'll pack, you know what I mean? They pack like max sanctuaries inside, max sanctuaries in their in main deck too. So I end up usually losing the bubble war, but it's good value. They're gonna have to waste 3 to 4 pips every single time casting a sanctuary, and you only have to use 2. So it's good value. It also makes them like discard stuff to pull for sanctuary because you know they're like scrambling to pull it. So it's good to just use all your bubbles before you go into strike. And then I packed this beautiful card Hephaestus, which I'll explain more later. But that's why I have so many. Then I have a good amount of life shields and a couple death shields as well, because I do face a lot of lives and a lot of deaths. It's very rare that I face a myth. I faced Nick the other day, or actually that was yesterday. But besides that, like I haven't faced any other myth. It's literally mostly just fire, balance, ice, and death. And life. That's it. I don't face storm and myth. I have, like, you know what I mean? I faced like maybe 2 in the last like 50 matches or something like that. So that's why it's mostly life shields and then a couple death. And then of course, you know, the thermics, because you need those. And then I got 4 strikes because strike's pretty solid. You know what I mean? Like, you need strike. I was thinking about packing 5, but 4 is good with this deck size. And then, of course, you need that beetle. You need that beetle from your pet. You don't need a scary net like I have, because it does give the fuel, which is nice. Hold on, let me find it. It does give the fuel, which is really nice. But you don't need a scary net or velociraptor. A basic beetle will do. You know what I'm saying? And then the shadow shield, because I do face novas, especially at my rank. It does happen, and you need this. You know what I'm saying? You need this. I could pack wand hits, but you don't really need it with the setup. And like I said, I'm trying to make my deck as concise as possible. So let's get into the side now. This is the side that I'm using currently, and you might be thinking, whoa, Blake, like, your side deck is so full. Why do you have 5 sharks in? Are you mental? No, I'm not. I will explain. People have cooled down on the minion spam, but when turn-based first came out, everybody was spamming minions, like actually spamming minions. So I think I'm probably going to take 1 out and maybe just have 4 in. But the thing is, since I don't pack elves in my main deck, like, these are my only things to take care of minions. Like, of course, I can still brimstone. You know, I could fire gut. I still have, like, 4 pip hits. But ideally, you want to, you know what I mean? When somebody summons a minion, you want to shark the minion. You want to 2-pip kill the minion immediately. Like, immediately the round they spawn it. So that's why I pack so many in my deck. But I might take 1 out and substitute it for something else. Maybe another tower shield or something. But yeah. So I run 6 towers because, you know, it's always good to have tower shields. Like, if you need to pull one. 3 triages. Triages is so important. I face a lot of ites and deaths. And you know what I mean? I need to triage the turn that they poison or the turn that they frostbite. It's huge. Because otherwise, you know, if you start spamming shields, they will just outvalue every time. So it's really important to triage. It creates good value, basically cancels their hit, and you don't lose any. You know what I mean? Triage is 0 pips. It's such a good spell. So definitely pack a few of those. I have 2 brimstone. Sometimes I'm thinking I might take out a shark and add an extra brimstone. You know, just run this instead, which would actually be pretty solid. I might do that. But like I said, I do face there's a lot of times where like it's just nice to take off a shield with the shark. So that's why I like running 5 sharks for now. But 2 brims is fine. I have 5 Ifrits because I mean Ifrit is, you know, you need Ifrit, especially in turn base. Ifrit is huge. It's super good. So I got 5 of them, and now I used to run 4, but since my deck is bigger, I run 5. 1 fiery giant. Sometimes I run two of these because it's so important to be able to pull it. This card is so good. Basically, my strat against fires is to stun block first turn, get your traps up ASAP, at least 1, ideally 2 traps, and then basically just shield spam until either your pet infouls or you have a free turn to strike, and then go for a fiery giant into a shad combo, and it kills like every time. It works like magic. So fiery giant is so good. Definitely get some of those. Like I said, 5 sharks because it's good to take off shields. It's really good against minions, and it's just good to pack in your deck. I got 4 FFAs because, you know, sometimes you need a chat. I'm not the type of person to just be like, oh, I have, you know, I have a shad, they didn't shield, I'm gonna go for an FFA. But you know, if I have infoul up and they have traps up, you know what I mean, and they didn't shield, I will take the FFA. You know what I mean? So it's good to have like 4 in your deck. Usually I run a 1 Hephaestus, but I've been running 2 recently because this is so good against a lot of schools. It's good. It's primarily good against life, especially Jades and crit lives, because they'll sanctuary as soon as you strike, but you hit them up with a Hephaestus and they're screwed. They don't know what to do. They're like, do I change bubble? If they change bubble, you kill them. If they shield, you just keep spamming them down. And if they try to heal, you can just one-shot them. So Hephaestus is really, really good in turn-based because of the value it creates. And it's even good against like balances, especially since ban and burn is kind of obsolete now and balances don't even like run it in their deck anymore. You can just stack up pips when you go into strike and they try and like gaze you or something. You go for Heffy, you're big chon. So it's really good. I really like Hephaestus. It's even good against ices and really anybody who bubbles. If you're going to play aggressively, it's just such a good value card. 3 scorches and then 3 fire guts because I do still face a lot of ices. And then of course the stun. Now you might be thinking, yo Blake, why don't you pack King Art? Are you mental? The reason for that is that I'm telling you most of the time Ifrit is better than King Art no matter what. Because you might be thinking like, oh, but King Art stuns them. I mean, Ifrit basically stuns them in turn based. You know what I mean? Like they can't, you know what I mean? It's 1 round or multiple rounds where they cannot hurt you. Like a 90% weakness, they cannot hurt you. So, and especially at my rank, like at 1760, everybody stun blocks. everybody stun blocks, and the times that people don't stun block, I go for a single stun anyway. So personally, I think Ifrit is way better than King Art, at least at my rank. So I don't even pack it. It just takes up space, and most of the time I end up pulling it like when I don't need it, and then when I do need it, I don't pull it. So I just don't pack it. So that's the setup that I use. I've been thinking about tweaking it a little bit more, but after playing turn-based now for about a week, a little bit more, this is what I found to be ideal. The setup is beautiful. I really like it. Like I said, the turquoise robe is just fantastic. If I was really cheesing, I would use a double. Like, I would basically just take off the Fire Giver and do Maycast Shatter. But Maycast Shatter is so cheese, you know what I mean? Like, it's not even fair. It's completely RNG, so they need to take it out of the game. There's a lot of other changes they need to do. I'm gonna make another video talking about it, or stream where I talk about like the changes that need to happen to the game. But anyway, this is the setup that I'm using for Fire. We're slowly making our way over to 2K. It might be possible. We'll see. The problem is I'm facing so many behemoth. Like, literally, I'm not even joking. I have about a 70% win rate, I think, against every single school except the behemoth. The behemoth, man, it's just too much. Like, the behemoths just farm me because they literally run twice my resist and more health than me, and they still crit their weavers. Like, you know what I mean? They just outvalue you, especially with like Polar Swarm, Weaver, Cold Iron. Like, there's too much. They have too much cheese. So this setup is still really good. I've been enjoying Max Fire a lot. You should definitely craft Hephaestus and Brimstone. You don't really need Krampus. I used to run Krampus in my deck, but I mean, like, you know, there's not really a time. Like, Krampus is a good spell, I guess, but it's like, I don't know, it's just too cheese. I don't want to mantle ever in turn base, so I just took it out of my deck. You could run that. You could also run some elves in your deck, but this is what I like, and the setup is really good. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know it was quite a long one. I just wanted to go in detail and talk about the different setups that you can do. For you guys that don't know, I stream every single day on Twitch, no days off, and I start every single day at 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 3:30 Central, 4:30 Eastern, and 8:30 GMT. So definitely come check it out. It's a lot of fun. I stream usually about 4 to 6 hours every day, sometimes a little bit less, but mostly I've been doing 4 to 6 hours, just steady grinding, you know. So I appreciate the love. You guys are awesome, and I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, evening, whatever time it is for you. And hopefully I'll see you at the streams or in the next video. So take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.